I did it again. I started recording, got partway through a video before realizing that I wasn't actually recording. Love it when that happens. But I'm recording now, and unlike Generation Select's Shockwave, I did not get as far into the video, so I feel like I'm okay with retreading ground that I already covered. So yeah, Velocitron Burnout. I, once again, hate the Walmart exclusive thing. Not just because there are no Walmarts in our area, which makes getting these exclusives a huge pain, but also because it's a pain for everyone else. I know there's a reason for it, but I hate it. Everyone hates it, because it's awful, even if it is justified to a degree. So yeah, I hate the exclusivity, but at least in Burnout's case, she's not as high demand as some of the other Velocitron figures, so she's a little bit easier to find. I'm pretty sure she's actually still listed on Hasbro Pulse right now. Let me get this ridiculous Weapon Clump off the top of the car here. I do not like this Weapon Clump. I think the weapons are fine, but like this I don't like. But yes, Velocitron Burnout, repaint, remold, well, remolding of the head at least, for Legacy skids, and I have zero care about skids, so I passed on that one, but I thought the mold looked cool. Then I saw Burnout and was like, that's pretty cool. Got the cross-cut head. I always thought like the face-plated head for a cross-cut or reboost was pretty cool, and she's a very cool figure. The vehicle mode, I think, works better than skids, at least in my mind, because since she's predominantly black, the color matching is way better. There is some difference, like the plastic here is slightly different in tone than the plastic here, and this is obviously painted plastic compared to actual plastic, like this is the blue translucent plastic that's been painted black, but because it's all black, like the glossiness is what sets this apart, but it's not anywhere near as pronounced as some of the other paint matching issues that other Transformers have had, so I think that works in her favor. And because this is a Velocitron release, there is more paint in general, I feel. Like you've got the silvery, grayish gunmetal color, I guess, for like the fender, but then the grille is silver, so it's like two separate tones, which I think is really nice. And then the yellow for the headlights and the red for the other lights on the underside. Got the striping going along the sides here as well. And the door handle painted in silver inside the stripe. That's a nice little detail. And then the taillights are not just painted, but they're painted in two different colors. So it's a really nice deco on this vehicle. It's, simple. It would be nice if the windows back here were kind of similar to this, but I'm hoping we eventually get a Repro Labels set. Or, no, what am I saying? We have a Repro Labels set. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to go in on the Repro Labels set or not, but, it's all things considered, I feel like the coloring on this is really solid. The only thing that's weird to me in terms of the design is you've got the little ports for gas on both sides of the car. It's just a little weird. But yeah, something I realized with this figure is that the skids mold, the Legacy skids mold, is a really good mold. I just don't care about skids, so I'm glad I was able to get a version of it. It's a pretty compact car, but not like super tiny, if that makes sense. No matter what I do, I never ever get it positioned right before I bring out the size comparisons. But yes, Burnout is roughly standard deluxe size, which is why I've been using her as a vehicle mode standard deluxe in size comparisons. And yeah, I don't know, I just I like the figure. It appeals to me in that sense of Lady Transformer that doesn't look like something I'd be sad to admit I own, and also it's just a solid figure in its own right. Now, to transform her, it's the same as the skids mold, so if you're familiar with that, you're going to be familiar with this. But I'm going to start by popping out the doors. Let's just unpeg here, and another thing I want to mention is the roof up here seems to peg in a lot better on Burnout than what a lot of people were showing with the skids mold. But anyway, unpeg the doors, and now what I prefer to do is roll the legs back, because they'll stay pegged in up here, but these bits can roll back to get out of the way, and then with those back, fold these flaps up and they will peg into place to form the shins, and then fold in these wheels. And they will get out of the way so that we have feet. And now I'll just unpeg the roof from the backs of the legs. And it's kind of hard to see, but there are little tabs there that peg into the roof. Now I'm going to unpeg the arms, and they do peg in. There's a little peg there that pegs into the underside of the forearm. So when you bring these in, you just want to give them a push, and that'll keep them in pretty solidly. So bring those out and out to the side, and then rotate them so that the wheels are pointed back, and then rotate the biceps so that the arms are pointed the way arms normally point. Alright, now I'm going to angle the hood down a little bit and angle the roof up a little bit. Unpegging this can be a little tricky, but basically just angle that down to unpeg this. You can see the tabs there, and pull this up, and with that up and out of the way, can hinge the pelvis section down, and that'll clip into place, or click into place, and then rotate the hips back, separate out the legs, and there we've got the lower body done. Then this bit folds down, and it will peg in, or friction in. I'm not entirely sure where. I think it's just this bit kind of frictioning around the gray bit here, but bring that down, and that will kind of friction clip into place. Bring down the arms, and this just kind of folds down on that accordion hinge to tuck back against the back, and that's it. That is Burnout in her robot mode. It's a very simple transformation, but very effective. And this is a cool figure. I mean, admittedly, in robot mode, you don't really get much in the way of new paint. Like, there is some new detailing for sure. Like the feet and shins and legs, like basically everything from the waist down, from the front, you didn't really see in car mode because the legs were tucked inside the car and these were the bottom of the car. And the arms are pretty much new, but you get a lot of car right up here, which is part of the design. And there is, of course, nice molding, some pretty decent color separation in some places. Unfortunately, because of the way that this is designed, you've got this dark gray for the shins, which is fine. It's a different color, but it does blend together with the black really well, so it kind of makes it look like she's mostly black with just some red accents here and there, when in fact there is some very dark gray mixed in. I feel like if that gray was just a little bit lighter and stood out from the black, it would help to add a little bit more color visual interest to the figure, but still a cool figure. Got the nice angled hood chest, and of course for the arms it's got that circular shoulders with the wheels on the back and some nice silver and red detailing there. I'm a little bit bummed out about the way they did the ports. I don't like having them on the top of the forearm. I wish they put them on the side. I know they did that because of Skid's weird gun thing, but I'm not a fan. And around the back, it's a surprisingly clean figure. Like, yeah, you've got the door wings, but that's part of the design. And the hood, or roof rather, does just kind of sit on the back, but it tucks up pretty nicely, and it's pretty clean. It's not a lot of roof. Really, most of the car is in the legs, which technically I guess that's kibble, but really it's just her legs, so it doesn't bother me. Yeah, so relatively clean figure. And then the head is, it's basically like the crosscut or reboost head from what I understand, from what I've seen, with a big old block on the back. And I think it works. I love the face-plated design. I think the yellow eyes stand out pretty nicely even when they're recessed like that and not in the best lighting. I think they stand out from the black, and I like the silver for the faceplate that continues up along the center of the head. I think it's a nice design. The block for the back of the head is a little bit but because the head is black and the block that makes up that tiny section of hood is also black, it doesn't really create that much of a problem. At least not for me. It just kind of, that's her head. I'm not as distracted by the plank on the back as I was with, like, when I looked at this videos and photos of skids. As for articulation, as you can see, the head is on a ball joint, which gets a teeny bit of back and forth waggle and a teeny bit of up and down, but mostly it's just returning. The arms can go up a lot, and also this joint here can swing up, so you can go all the way up. One thing that kind of stinks, at least with mine, is this joint kind of locks into place. Like, you get it to a certain point and it kind of locks in, and now this joint moves and this mostly stays where it is. This joint doesn't lock in as well, so it'll like more easily slip out of place, which is just a little bit of a shame. And then you also get bicep swivel. The arms can bend to 90. The fists also rotate, which is cool. This one's very tight for some reason, but the fists do rotate. The waist also rotates, but you'll kind of want to get this out of the way. You can do the waist rotation. You don't get an ab crunch because that crunch is only to lock this joint in place for the robot mode, but you can, if you really wanted to, arc back. If you wanted to. The hips can go forward pretty much to 90, can go back. If this isn't in the way, can go back pretty much to 90. If this is down and in the way, then they're going back about that far. The hips also can go out almost to 90, but not quite because the way things are shaped down there. Get a thigh rotation, a 90-degree bend at the knee, which, considering how these knees transform, that's actually pretty cool because you can see just how much of the car is part of that thigh. Like, this is the roof, the back roof of the car right here. So they had to carve this semicircular channel in there, but the fact that that allows you to get that much knee bend is pretty darn cool. And then the feet don't go forward and back, but they do tilt a fair bit. So yeah, pretty decently posable. I think that this is a nifty mold, and I'm glad I have it, and I'm glad I have it with a more interesting to me design. Now the weapon block. She's got the Energon thing that they've been doing with a lot of Legacy, and you can peg it in to use as like a shotgun or something. If you wanted to peg it into the forearm, you could do that too. Or you can peg it into her hand, and so it's kind of like an axe. And it's all fine. It's not great, but it's fine. And these guns are the more typical Skids guns. And you can plug it into her fist, and that sticks up really weird. Or there's this one that can plug into the forearm, and that's why the peg holes are in the tops of the forearms, because, you know, that weird Skids forearm mounted gun. So you can do that. I do not like to do that, but you can do that. What I prefer to do is put this back down here, but also if you wanted to, you could plug this up here, give like a weird little triple barreled thing. If you wanted to, you could take this and plug this back up here and have something like that. There are peg holes on the sides of this thing, so if you wanted to, you could peg stuff in like that. You've got lots of options for how you want to do this. Personally, I just don't get all that crazy with it. I just plug this back in here, so that way it's like she has a little triple blaster. And then instead of pegging it in here, where it kind of works but still sticks out a bit, I peg this into her forearm, which I think looks a little bit more, I don't know, natural. As natural as a robot space gun can look. And then this, just give her an axe. There is that. That's typically how I have her armed up, which I think works. It's not great, but it's fine. I didn't get this figure for the weapons, obviously. And not sure that there's been any figure that I've gotten just for the weapons. Maybe there is and I'm forgetting, I don't know. But as you can see, she is, I feel like roughly average deluxe height. She looks stout, but I think that's because of the boxiness of the legs and torso in particular. But yeah, it's roughly average height for a deluxe. But just for the heck of it, let's bring in the Masterpiece mold so you can see how she looks next to, in this particular instance, Masterpiece Reboost. And yeah, the Legacy / Velocitron mold, it's a little bit more squished down. Primarily the shins come up higher, the thighs aren't quite as long, but it's still cool. I think if you don't want this or can't afford this, this is definitely not a bad way to go. I got Reboost when he was on sale on Hasbro Pulse, so there is that. But this is also very cool, and because these transformations are so drastically different, I don't mind having both. I do think it's funny, though, how despite this figure being so much smaller than this figure, their arms are almost the same size. The arms here are slightly shorter, but they're actually a little bulkier. This isn't a complaint or anything. I actually really like this figure, really like the mold, but yeah, the Masterpiece Skids mold has some kind of scrawny arms, which I guess feeds back into what I was saying before about how I always appreciate it when we get lady Transformers that don't look, unnecessarily curvy, let's say. So I like this. This is cool. It's a less stereotypical body type, and I think that works. Body type for giant transforming alien robots, but you all know what I mean. But anyway, that is gonna do it for Velocitron Burnout. This is, as I said, a very cool figure. The Skids mold, the Legacy Skids mold, is very cool. So I feel like it's worth getting in some form, whether it's a specific character that you like that they're making, or just a color scheme you like. I'd say go for it, because it's a cool mold. It's a simple transformation, but it gets the job done. It's fun to do, and I really like the way everything compacts down. And you're left with a pretty cool robot that's pretty poseable. But that is enough about what I think. What do you all think of Velocitron Burnout, or by extension, the Legacy Skids mold? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and remember, toys are awesome, but they are still just toys.